Hello everyone. So today we have Mr. Eric, who is the Director of International Admissions in Fanshawe College, London, Ontario. He has come all the way to our office in Ahmedabad to interact with us and to guide prospective international students who want to study in Canada. So I welcome you, Mr. Eric. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thanks so much for having me.
You're welcome. So today, as we talk about Canada as a study destination, it has been in demand all the time for good 10, 12 years.
Yeah.
What is the change in the situation, and do you still think that it is a good option for Indian students to study in Canada?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really great question. And I'm sure that students have heard a lot of different answers about that particular question. I would say this is a really great time for students to come to Canada. Recently, the government has made a number of changes, which I think will benefit both students and the Canadian population, as well as the Canadian economy. Those changes have really clarified for students the types of industries and the types of education that students should be spending their time focusing on that'll lead to, or that will focus or allow them to find the jobs in our economy after they graduate.
Okay. So what are the type of courses that students can study in Fanshawe College, and where can they have their great career options?
Yeah, Fanshaw has one of the largest long lists of programs that are available for alignment with PGWP. So that means that students can study 91 programs as of today and stay in Canada and work after they graduate. So yeah, we have a list of 91 programs. Those programs range from lots of different fields, including healthcare, including IT. There are several business programs that work well for students.
Okay.
And so lots of great opportunity depending on the background and the skills that you bring before you apply.
That's great. Yeah. There is one common notion, or I would say misconception in the minds of Indian students, that Canada does not give postgraduate work permit after studies. Can you guide us about that?
Yeah, that's a misconception. And so the postgraduate work permit is still an important part of immigration pathways to Canada. It's still an integral part to our economy because it's going to attract the future workforce of our country. And we need the population. We have a very large land mass, as you know, and relatively small market or small population size in conjunction with that land mass or against that size. And so we absolutely need that population to help us grow our economy. We need those students to come to study and stay in Canada after they graduate. The postgraduate work permit is basically designed so that if you study in Canada, you will potentially receive a postgraduate work permit of the duration of your studies, and sometimes longer, right? So up to 3 years of postgraduate work permit study to give you enough time to secure the right employment so that you can eventually stay in Canada as a permanent resident.
Okay. So students do get a postgraduate work permit for up to 3 years.
They do. Students do get a postgraduate work permit for up to 3 years
and
after they
graduate.
graduate.
91 programs.
91 programs for students to choose from based on their skills.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Okay. And what type of programs? Are they a combination of undergraduate and postgraduate programs as well?
Yeah, so I would say that that's a great advantage to coming to Fanshawe as well, is that we do have diplomas and certificates. We do have graduate certificates. We have a number of programs at each of those levels for students to study and stay in Canada after they graduate.
That's great. Can you tell us some more benefits of studying in London compared to cities like Toronto or Greater Toronto area? How beneficial is it for a student to choose London as a city?
That's a great question. I would say that the cost of living for students studying in London is to their benefit over going to a larger center like Toronto. Toronto is only a 2-hour drive from London, Ontario, and so lots of students might travel on the weekends to go and spend time in that city.
Yes.
But by living in London, Ontario, they actually save quite a bit on housing and other services within the community, and they're actually able to access those services quite easily because of the size of the city. I would say, though, it's a very fast-growing city, and so there's lots of opportunity in terms of employment. There's lots of opportunity in terms of access to cultural events and things that they might be interested in to supplement their studies and their time. And because the city's a fairly small footprint, it means that they can access those services and those events quite easily. The big win for students is really around cost and access to housing.
Okay, that's great to know. 2 more questions. Well, technically that's 1 in 2, I would say. Indian students are also concerned about the cost, and they are also concerned about part-time job opportunities in London and postgraduate employment opportunities in London. Can you please guide our students about that?
Yeah, there's a couple great points here to mention. I would say with all of the changes that have happened over the last year and a half, we've really seen a reduction in the total number of students who've come into Canada. That is translating right now into a gap in the labor force in terms of part-time jobs. So we've had lots of industries, lots of organizations who typically hire part-time students, who hire students to work part-time while they're studying, and they're coming to the school now saying, where are the students? We're looking for people. We can't find people to fill those part-time roles. And so they're actually asking us to advertise on campus. They're actually asking to come do job fairs, to come meet with our students to try and find and recruit those students into those roles. So really great opportunity for students who are interested in studying in Canada to come and work part-time during their studies. I would say they're going to find those roles. There's lots of great opportunity in London and across Canada for that matter. That's going to translate, as we see for over the next year and a half, as students and that shortage of students. Currently, there's a shortage of students compared to previous years.
Yes.
That shortage of labor in the part-time space, as those students graduate and start looking for full-time jobs, we're going to see that shortage translate into those full-time roles, right? And so we're going to see those industries who typically hire from Fanshawe College come back to us and push really hard for, where are all those students who have disappeared, really? There's a lot less students coming to Canada, and so they're going to have a harder time filling those labor demands. And so I think, again, it's a really great opportunity for students who want to come now because they're going to come in at that time. They're going to go through their studies here in Canada, and then they're going to graduate at a time where we're going to see reductions in the labor force supply versus the demand that's out there. And we're going to see that translate quite heavily across the Canadian landscape since those changes. Yeah, again, I think it's a great opportunity for those students to come.
Right. And can you tell us how does Fanshawe College supports students who are looking for employment after completion of their studies and even while they are studying for the part-time employment?
Yeah, that's so many good questions. I'm glad to be here. We have several services that are available for students to help them with those things. And so we have a career office that will support students. And so just some of the ways that we do that, I'll give you an example. On day one, right, the first day you arrive at Fanshawe, during your orientation, part of that orientation is a workshop on careers and part-time jobs. That happens on day one, just in the original orientation. And within 5 days, you can actually get CV support, CV writing or resume writing support, or attend a clinic. So that happens within your first week. Again, that is to set you up for success so that when you arrive in Canada, you start attending classes, and in that same time, you start looking for part-time work. So again, the training and the CV support will really help you tailor your resume for what Canadian employers are looking for and what types of things you want to highlight to attract those jobs. So that happens very, very quickly. Then there are a whole series of workshops and training and one-on-one counseling that you can attend and you will support. And the more you access those services, the more you'll benefit from the training that's available to students throughout your time at Fanshawe. Furthermore, in addition to that, I should say lots of programs have co-ops as part of the program. Now, most co-ops are not a mandatory component of the program, but they're really an important part of helping to identify and gain the additional skills required to go out and get those full-time jobs after you graduate. And students who attend co-op are exponentially more successful in terms of their abilities to land those full-time jobs. So it's an incredibly important component, and the sooner students start working towards that, getting their co-op job, and then the sooner they'll land their full-time job, I should say.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
So in a nutshell, Canada does give postgraduate work permits. Students do get part-time employment opportunities. Yeah. Students do get employment after completion of their studies.
Yeah.
They also get support from the college, both in terms of academics as well as the employment during and after completion of their studies.
Absolutely.
One more area. So when the students, they come to Canada, many times they don't know anybody in Canada. So they might have some teaching issues to start with. They are slightly unknown to the new country, new systems around. So is there any support provided by college in that space?
Yeah, there are several initiatives that we have within the college that support students' arrival. One is that we'll pick you up right from the Toronto airport and bring you to campus, and that's included in your first term fees. It's all part of the deal. So it's Fanshawe Cares program. We'll pick you up and bring you to the college. That's the first step. In addition to that, there's a whole program around what we've called Fanshawe Friends. And so that's it's an opt-in program. Students don't have to participate, but lots of students in the college do so. They join that program, and there is a series of not only networking events, but social events to help give students a community that they can feel comfortable getting to know different people from different cultures, different parts of the world, and they really engage in that, fun activities that allow them to connect with others on campus. So we find that ends up being a lot of support, right? Peer support is an incredibly important part of the journey. And I think all students struggle with going to a new place and attracting those new relationships and new friends. And where do I start? You start with those programs that are developed to do that. We run activities in Fanshawe Friends, monthly social events all month long, but larger events kind of once a month. So, 1 month we might do an event at a local coffee shop. Another event will be at a more of a sporting activity, so like tubing, right? There are ways to have fun in the snow in Canada, and we enjoy our multi-climate environment. And so we will bring students to a large hill, and they'll go down in tubes. And it's quite an enjoyable experience. And I'll say, look it up on social media. There's lots of videos of students doing these kinds of things. Okay. So there's lots of ways we support those students who, as they come to Canada and they get to know our community and get to know each other.
So that's fantastic. So students do get a pickup from the airport by the college itself.
Yep.
So students don't need to worry about going from Toronto airport to London, a 2-hour drive, because the college will pick them up.
That's
a fantastic thing.
And that's included as part of the fee. Right?
Wow.
So there's no additional prices. Yeah, no additional fees with Robert Q is the service that does that. They provide vans to do that work.
Wow.
There's another whole service level that I'd like to talk about just for a brief moment, if that's okay, and that is around student immigration and student support as they navigate the changing environment of our immigration process, right? So students have been fairly apprehensive over the last year as changes have come in play. One of the things that the school does really well is we have 6 immigration officers or advisors on campus. Right? These are certified experts who are there to support students through their journey, help them understand what changes in regulatory process means for them specifically. And in the last 8 months, we've had 13,000 appointments for our students.
Wow.
Who've come in and met with one of these 6 advisors face to face or virtually if they prefer. I think that's a service that lots of schools try and provide. Fanshawe does an exceptionally a great job at that. Those immigration advisors also provide support towards their PGWP applications.
Okay.
And so that's a whole other service that we provide that's included in the cost of coming to Fanshawe. That's probably not often talked about, but an incredibly important part of a student journey.
That's amazing. That's good to know.
Yeah.
So it is indeed a great session where students can understand that Fanshawe College offers engineering programs, computer programs, healthcare programs, both at undergraduate and postgraduate level. They get up to 3 years postgraduate work permit. They get employment support from the college. They will be picked up from the airport. I mean, we covered quite a few things.
We did.
Some more questions now. What about scholarships?
Scholarships. Oh, well, we recently introduced scholarships into the marketplace to help support students during this time. And so if you apply and get admitted and pay your deposit before June 15th, you'll be entitled to a $2,000 scholarship towards your first term of studies.
That's good to know. So $2,000 technically covers their one-way airfare from India to Canada. That's good to know.
Yeah. In addition, we've also offered a spousal scholarship to support families who'd like to come to Canada. Okay. And so if a student comes and studies at Fanshawe College, their spouse can come at a sizable discount in their tuition of 7,000 Canadian dollars. So that's a huge component.
Wow.
That allows students to bring their families and their spouse. Both spouses can study at Fanshawe College.
Okay.
And the second partner receives a scholarship that will support their studies and support a large portion of their studies while they're here.
Okay, so is it like recurring? So $7,000 for the first year, or if the spouse also chooses a 2-year program, is it one time? Can you guide us on that?
So the spousal scholarship program works in a couple of different ways.
Okay.
If the primary applicant comes for a 1-year program and the spouse comes for a 1-year program, then it would be paid out at $7,000 for the first term of study
Okay.
for the spouse and the
Okay.
second student. If both students come and want to study a 2-year program, the primary applicant will come and apply for a study 2-year program. The second applicant or the spouse will come and study for, again, a 2-year program. That spouse would be entitled to $7,000 for term 1 and an additional $7,000 scholarship for term 2, resulting in a total scholarship of 14,000 Canadian dollars off the price of their 2-year tuition. That's a sizable chunk, and I think that it'll help families make that journey to Canada. At the same time, they can bring their children to Canada, and those kids can study in our public school system as part of the process.
Yes.
That's an
good.
important consideration, and I think that families will really benefit from that.
Okay, that is a very nice news to hear. I mean, very nice, especially in spouse segment, the spousal open work permits are no longer available for college programs.
Right.
So allowing the spouse to come and having a $7,000 scholarship for the studies is a great initiative. I mean, students would certainly like it.
I'm glad to hear that. We hope it's going to help those families who typically came for the work permit, the spousal work permit process. We wanted to make sure that we had something available to them that would still allow those families to come to Canada. Because like I said, we need that population in Canada. We need these families to come, build community, and grow our country, help us grow our country. And the Indian population is exactly who we're looking for.
Yes, I mean, Indian population is English speaking, young, talented, qualified,
That's right.
and willing to work hard.
Yeah, incredibly well motivated, motivated to do this and to grow, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
One last thing.
Please.
What's your take on, so what's your suggestion to Indian students considering their study abroad options and keeping Canada in mind? Should they come to Canada now? Should they wait for some time? Can you please guide us on that?
What I would say is that students who are thinking about studying abroad have a certain skill set that's incredibly important, and that is that resiliency. They already have that skill, that they're even thinking about it. I would say that skill is developed regardless of where they go, whether they come to Canada or they go to the UK or they go to Australia. The resiliency that they gain from doing that kind of an experience, from taking that leap of faith to study in a different country, to go learn something new, to do something that's hard, right? It's incredibly hard, I can only imagine. That resiliency is compounded. The skills that they gain from making those selections are incredibly important to their future. What I would say is that while Canada's been hard over the last year for our students, it's been tough to navigate those changing dynamics, the changing rules. What does it mean for me? The skills that students have learned over that time frame is going to help them for the rest of their career. And while it's been hard for them, I would say I'm impressed. I'm proud of them. I've been nothing but impressed with the way that they've adapted and handled those changes. This is the right time to come to Canada because, again, lower levels of student population coming to the country means more opportunity in the future for those same students. Those jobs are there. Those career pathways have been built to handle the volume we had 2 years ago in terms of that transition through students. Those jobs are there, and they'll need people to fill them. It's a really great opportunity. So regardless of the changes that come, and there will be more, there'll be lots of changes over the next 10 years, right? We know that. The world's a changing environment every day. The students already have the skills. They're going to be successful regardless of those changes. And because they have those skills, I'm confident that they're going to be successful as a consequence of those skills.
So they should consider Canada as one of their primary options to study abroad.
I believe so. I'm raising my family in Canada. It's a great place to be. I'm very proud to be a Canadian, and I'm really glad. And I think that there's an opportunity for the Indian community and the Canadian community to continue to build that relationship that's been there for decades.
That's great. So, friends, this was our wonderful interaction with Mr. Eric, who is the Director of International Admissions and International Department in Fanshawe College, located in London, Ontario, Canada. If you want to apply in Fanshawe College and if you want to apply for September 25 intake or January 26 intakes for undergraduate or postgraduate programs, please contact our office numbers as soon as possible so that we can help you getting that $2,000 scholarship for your first year. And if you are married and want to apply with your spouse, then you will be eligible to get a $7,000 scholarship for 2 years, that is 2 terms. That's an amazing opportunity. Thank you for watching.